AI tells you exactly what happened on every call. It tells you whether it was a lead. It tells you whether it was a customer. It tells you whether that customer was unhappy and might be canceled. It can tell you when your leads aren't put in the CRM. And believe it or not, we're seeing 30 to 40% of leads that call in are not getting entered into the CRM by the admin employees that take the calls.
This is the PMP Industry Insider Podcast.
Hello, everyone. Welcome out to another episode of the PMP Industry Insider Podcast, where we take a look at what is changing in the pest and lawn industries, and we take you to the front lines to those that are driving those changes. I'm Donnie Shelton, owner of Triangle Home Services, which has Triangle Pest as well as Triangle Lawn. And with me, reigning from, I don't know, are you in Jersey or Florida today?
I'm in Florida.
Jersey
that was
today.
a job requirement. I'm not moving to Jersey. No disrespect. No, I'm in Florida. Yeah.
So with me is Jersey Shore. Should I call you the situation? Maybe Dan, the situation.
I'm from northern Jersey. Yeah. I'm not from south or Jersey.
By the way, if Dan takes his shirt off, he totally looks like the situation too. So having said that, Dan, introduce yourself.
Yeah. All right. I'll leave my my shirt on. So hello everybody, Dan Gordon from PCO Bookkeepers and M&A Specialists. We specialize in CFO services for the pest management industry, as well as exit planning and brokerage services. And if you like what you hear, please consider supporting our sponsors. If you're in the marketing, if you're looking for marketing, Comarch by WorkWave, that's comarch.com. If you're in the insurance market for pest control insurance, it's PestSure, and that's pestsure.com. If you're interested in a peer group that we sponsor as well as are involved in for our group, listen to episode 136 and also go to pmpindustryinsider.com/peer groups. And you can hear more about our peer groups with David Billingsley, who facilitates them. And today we're happy to, this is kind of interesting. So I was at I met the big honcho while I was out in California, Tom Welch, and I was actually at a meeting of the U group, and one of the participants was actively involved in what we're about to talk about, and that is Voice for Pest, and I think you also have a vertical Voice for Lawn, right, Ray?
It's Voice for Turf. I think it should be called Voice for Lawn.
Okay, so Voice for Turf. It's okay. It's like PCO Bookkeepers and Turf Books. Anyway, I said to Tom, I said, hey, we'd love to have you on the podcast. And he said, I don't know anything about it. But Ray, he would be the guy. They're doing some amazing things with AI on the calling front. And so let me just read the quick, well, it's not that quick, but let me read the quick intro. Ray is a 32-year veteran and fixture in the pest control industry. He began his professional life as a sales rep with True Green, then moved to Orkin a year later and worked his way up to branch manager. Majority of his 23 years was spent with McCall. And he started his tenure as a sales rep and ultimately ascended to the position of VP today. Today, he's director of business development at Voice for Pest, the only phone system designed for the pest management industry. Ray is former chairman of the Copasan Technology Advancement Committee, as well as a former member of the NPMA Technology Committee, and he serves on FPMA in a variety of roles, including regional director, chairman of both education and behind-the-scenes committees. He enjoys spending time with his cats. Are you a cat woman? Well, we could edit that out, or we could leave it in. His fiance had 5 grown children through, not necessarily in that order. I had to go there, Donnie. I'm sorry.
Yeah, but cats are listed first for a reason. We're just saying.
Gotcha. All right. So anyway, welcome, Ray. It's a pleasure to have you here, and
it's great to be here. Yeah,
and Brett, our editor, will decide whether he edits that out or not. So
okay. Well, no, we keep it.
Hang on. So a couple things. First of all, Raymond, if you were to meet my cat is like, she's a fan for about an hour, maybe like 2 minutes, and after that she's kind of done with you. But she is all cat. Every stereotype you could think of, that's our cat. Which, by the way, was purchased while I was deployed, because I would have never agreed to have a cat in the house, but now we do, and it has been a fixture of our family for the last 7 years. Second thing, just a quick story. I have known Raymond for a number of years. My first time I ever met Raymond was actually in a conference room at McCall's Pest. I was this was years ago, back when before even Comarch, and I used to sell a software called Back Office, and we did like I don't know if you remember that or not, Raymond, but I
remember.
Did a demo for you guys. And anyway, so I've known Raymond for a number of years. Obviously, things have changed, and he has changed, and as have I, and we're all kind of sitting in different seats, but in the same industry. So welcome, Raymond. Great to have you on the podcast.
Great to be here. And like everybody in this industry, I have a Donnie Shelton story. Can I tell my Donnie Shelton story?
Everyone has a Donnie Shelton story.
Everyone, right? I mean, come on. Everybody. So like Donnie said, we've known each other many, many years. I went to his office. I've been to his office many times in a while, but I went up there. We wanted to learn how this guy started his pest control business with one customer, and in like 2 years was like 2 million or something. I mean, amazing growth and success, right? So second or third time up, I said, "Hey, Donnie, how's it going? How are the kids?" And he goes, "Well, I bought a farm because I want my kids to grow up learning the value of hard work, right?" And that tells me and you everything you know about Donnie Shelton. He bought a farm so his kids grew up with the value of hard work, which is just a testament to all the things that he's done. So,
and do they love
Donnie
that
also
farm?
has a lawn mowing business. In case anybody didn't know, he drives his son around with a trailer and a lawnmower.
I don't want to get too sidetracked here, but I will say this. My son Blake is now driving a truck. He's 15, and I cannot wait until he turns 16, because I come off the mowing crew, which I can't. So my two boys now, they have their own business. I'm not going to say the name of it because it's a little disparaging, but it is funny. Ask me offline sometime, and I'll tell you what the name of it is. Second thing is that I'm not a dad like I'm going to drive them to a yard and watch my boys work. As sinister as that is, so I actually get out, and Dan is correct, and I have been asked several times, are things okay in my family, because I'm out lawns with my boys.
Yeah.
So it's good times.
That stock market, it can get you though. But and then
the market tanks. You can always mow lawns.
I always got that backup. That's right. That's right. So all right. So we're here to talk about phone systems, though.
Okay. Well, we can talk about you more. I'm good. So go ahead. No, it's great to be here. Thank you, guys. I've watched this for a long time. I know it kind of came out of a lot of things that were born out of COVID, but I'm glad to be here. Thank you. Exciting.
Same. So Raymond, I have been looking forward to this episode. I want to talk about what you guys are doing at Voice for Pest. I've heard a lot of things, how you guys are integrating AI into your product. And of course, I mean, there's other phone systems that are doing the same, but you guys, you have a few integrations as well. And so I just thought it might be good to kind of, instead of hearing it from me, hearing it from the Grandmaster, what is going on? Like, what's the latest and greatest as far as phone solutions really for the pest management industry? And can we just start there, kind of what you got going on?
Yes. So, I mean, the big answer is AI, right? But there's also I'm sure we're going to talk about that, but there's also other things that are kind of transitioning in the industry, in the industry of the phone solution providers, but also within the industry, pest and lawn, because this is a pretty unique industry in a lot of ways, as everybody involved knows. But what's interesting with this industry and phone systems is there's a lot of phone calls. I mean, pest control and lawn care companies get a lot of phone calls compared to other types of businesses and industries. Their customers are calling them all the time to come back out. They're getting leads. I mean, it's just a lot of use of a phone system. So this industry, more than a lot of other ones, really pushes and utilizes a lot of the aspects of a phone system. There's a lot of things phone systems can do. They can be very basic. They can be really complicated. In this industry, which is unique, is even small companies, like 2 people answering the phone, they still want all the latest. What's really trying to transition is texting. Texting is becoming the big hot thing, and you think, well, that doesn't make sense because we're talking about a phone system. But the other big hot transition is everybody wants, multi-channel, omni-channel. Everybody wants one screen now. They're tired of going into their CRM, and then they have to go into their email, and then they have to go into their phone. Everybody's got 9 windows they're doing. And everybody wants to scrunch that. That's a technical phone system. Scrunch that down into one window, right? So that's what we're seeing really is that move to kind of multi or omni-channel or views. I can see my email, my phone, my text all in one screen. So the texting and the phone voice are kind of molding together because everybody wants that to be one piece. So that's kind of I would say the bigger kind of the trends coming. And then of course, with AI coming in and just kind of turning everything upside down, it's been interesting.
Yeah. I mean, and we're seeing this in products as well. I mean, not too far in the recent past, WorkWave has released Communication Center, and that seems to be kind of their omni-channel solution. And of course, there's other platforms out there. I say that because that's the one I'm familiar with. I know that there's other CRMs that do basically the same. But you're right? The idea behind an omni-channel is that I don't need to go to 5 different software platforms. I just need everything to come in. And however the customer wants to communicate me, whether it's voice or text or email or whatever, we can do that. The thing that I have really enjoyed watching is how people are putting AI on top of these solutions. One of the things that I really care about as an owner is our customer experience, and it drives me crazy. This happens all the time, right? Is I call in and I have to recreate the call that I called about 2 or 3 times ago, right? Or I have to recreate, what I talked about in the previous conversation. And now AI is taking that pain point away. One of the applications that I've seen is, kind of a call summary. And ultimately, the benefit, at least in my mind for this is, there's a conversation that's had. Of course, the conversation is recorded. I can go and listen to 20 minutes. Let's assume worst case scenario, this is someone that's upset or they got something, a bug that they really can't stand, and they're going to spend 15 minutes telling you about it. And so what I'm trying to do is get to very specific drivers of that conversation. Like, what was the issue? What was the resolution? How did it end? AI, at least in my mind. And again, Raymond, feel free to disagree and add and plug in here. But to me, the big benefit is AI kind of just summarizes that whole call, gets it into the customer's account so that when the customer calls back, we kind of continue that conversation where we left off. Is that kind of a good?
Yeah, no, that's very accurate. I mean, so just to take, and I agree with everything you said. There's no disagreeing. We'll take a step back. We'll talk about AI in general, and then because the thing about AI with phone systems is there's really 2 big components. One is it's based on what's called a large language model. And I knew nothing about AI 5 months ago, so I'm not trying to be an expert, trust me. Large language model, right? I know 4 words, and I've used 3 of them already, so we're in trouble. But no, so the thing about a large language model is that's where it exists. And I like to say our large language model was born in the pest control industry, and it's being raised in the pest control industry. Because that's the thing about AI, it keeps learning. And the value to having a dedicated large language model is it understands the terms we use. It knows what people are saying when they're buying pest control, they're requesting things. So if somebody says aeration and overseeding, we know what that means. If somebody says aeration and overseeding and it's a different phone system for maybe that has a million different industries, it's not going to really understand. It's not going to understand what that is. Like crack and crevice, stuff like that. So one of the big keys with AI is to make sure that it's well trained in the terminology that your company or the industry uses. And that's one benefit to ours, not to do a shameless plug, but it's a little bit of a plug.
No,
that's
feel free.
Benefit.
We do them all the time.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, well then, great.
You're in good company.
Then ours is the best and everybody else is really bad.
There you go. Now you're fitting
yeah, let's be honest. But there is a difference. But that's one key. But then the other thing is about AI with phones is it doesn't listen to the calls. It works off the transcription, right? So the transcription is the most important part. If you don't get a really good high quality transcription, then everything else, all the data, the amazing data that AI pulls out of that transcription won't be as good, right? So there's a couple things you want to make sure you have very good quality audio, not just necessarily the call quality, but you want to make sure there's not a lot of background noise, because we've seen where AI will pick up, there's a conversation and somebody in the background says something and AI picks it up because it's in the transcription. So clear, solid transcriptions based on good language models that know the industry is really important. But you're absolutely right about that summary. That summary is just amazing because a lot of times companies want their employees to put in notes after a call, right? And we all know that not all employees do what they're supposed to do. Some of them try really hard. Some of them don't try hard at all, right? So you end up with hodgepodge. Some have notes, some don't. Sometimes an employee might might say something on the call that they shouldn't have, and so they edit. Their note is not going to reflect the true nature of the call, right? So with this summary note, like to your point, Donnie, it's there every call. Anybody can go and read it, and it tells you exactly what happened. Like you said, the transcript's there, the recording's there, but you can read that. And ours are typically 2-sentence, some of them not, 2-sentence note, and it tells you exactly what happened. The person calling, the price, if it was a sale. So that part is very powerful. But it also, if you are a company that notes and does it, you're gonna end up saving about 45 minutes to an hour of productivity per employee per day, right? Because if you figure it takes 60 seconds to put in a note, 45, 50 calls a day, that's about an hour, right?
Yeah.
They're not worrying about that note. So that's an hour more per person that you can get out of your company just from that one feature.
So that's efficiency, right? And then what I saw was employee training, and I wanted to ask about that, but also what else in AI? One of the examples that was brought up is one of the things that we don't like to talk about are chemicals, right? We like to talk about materials.
Well, hang on.
So
before we go to training, though, I got one more thing I want to talk about here as far as AI and capturing conversations, because this is a major pain point, and I'm going to go off the outline here for a bit, which is so uncommon for us. We never do it. So, but
here's to be part of it. Yeah.
Here's a real pain point that I have, and I'm speaking for me personally, and I think it's common in the industry, and I'm curious to hear your ideas and if there's anything you guys are working on. My biggest pain point is not necessarily in the office, right? I mean, everything you just described about AI taking over note taking, getting notes on the account, and making us more efficient, fantastic. It absolutely is necessary. I love it. It's great. The part I feel like we really fail on is in the field. I want our technicians, to reach out to our customers, and I talk about this whole thing of a zinger. And if you spend any time with me, you got to know that, in pest control, it's not visual, right? So we have to sell the customer value every single time. And so I ask, it is actually a procedure that when our technicians finish up a service, they need to contact the customer. And I don't care if it was pulling the trash cans in, if it was finding some ants under a rock. I don't really care. But there has to be something, I call it the zinger, that they did as part of their service that reinforces the value. Because if we don't do that, then all they see is nothing, and then we're not doing anything. But I never really get to capture those texts, those conversations. Like, I don't really get to capture that and get that back to the account. And I really would love for a way or some platform that can do that. And so I'm curious to hear, number one, is there anything that you guys have that does that? And number two, if you don't, any plans to really help that part of our business? Because I just feel like we lose so many conversations and we lose so much data now. And I encourage this I encourage the relationship between the technician and the customer, because I feel like it's what really helps our cancel rate. Anything there that you're aware of?
Yeah.
Okay, let's hear all about it, because I am very interested in this
and I think, and there's more AI stuff too, but besides the note. But let's do this. So yeah, absolutely. So we have the ability to capture every single call from your company to your company, regardless whether it's a technician or whatever. We have a technician extension. They can use a mobile app. We have what we call cellular extend, which is fantastic. We give you a SIM card, and your technician just uses the phone like any other phone. They can call directly out of the mobile app for the CRM, like you mentioned Pest back earlier. They all have one. So instead of having to copy paste into the mobile app, they can just click the number and dial straight out. And then the calls come in, and the phone already knows it's a business call because the SIM is a business SIM. So we can capture all of that. We can take all of those recordings, summarize notes like you're talking about. So you can get that summarized note that's so amazing for your technician conversations as well, and the full transcript, and texting. If you're using our texting platform, we can capture all those texts and push them into the CRM notes as well. So you could ultimately see every point of conversation between your employees and your customers in your CRM, other than if they walk in the door. And if you record it, we can transcribe it, and then we can put it in there. But if they walk in the door, we're probably not going to be able to help you. But other than that, we can capture all those conversations, and you can see all those notes in the CRM, whether it's a text conversation or a voice conversation. And that's not even AI.
Verizon? Is it Verizon? And
no, it's so we are the carrier, AT&T is the background carrier. Obviously, we don't have our own cellular network. I wouldn't be on this broadcast. I love you guys, but I wouldn't be here if we had our own cellular network. But,
you'd be off in the Caribbean somewhere on a beach.
I'd be watching it though.
Yeah.
Somebody rubbing ice on my neck while I'm watching it. I promise.
Yeah.
But But anyway, so AT&T is the background carrier, but we are the provider. So we essentially can provide the cellular service and tie it directly with our phone system service. So it's basically that cell phone is part of the phone system. Every call is recorded, every call is transcribed. So it's just like they're sitting in the office. No difference other than they're out in the field. And we have a lot of
guys out in the field no longer have Verizon bills. It all comes through Voice for Pest.
It would come through Voice for Pest. Now you have options. You can keep like Verizon data, but we have a great data package. We can do it all. And it's really a great way to do it. And then, like to Donnie's point, you've just solved that problem. You now have every conversation captured.
Right.
You know what's going on. You know what was said. Stuff like that. And to connect that to AI, there's just so many things. And what I usually start with is like, we have our main features are the notes we talked about. We have an executive AI dashboard that's just amazing. But to step back a little, if you think about like call tracking, right? What does call tracking really do? It tells you how many people called your tracking number. It doesn't tell you how many leads you got, right? Mm-hmm. Once you know how many people called your tracking number, then you get to figure out how many of those people were leads, how many were customers, and that's where you rely on your employees most of the time. We've already talked about, sometimes you don't always get the best results from employees. We found that about our customers that do call disposition, which is tagging the call, labeling it, about 30 to 40% of their calls get disposition. And a lot of times the employee will just pick the first little item in the pick list. And this is a true story. I think Krista can back me up. She's with me here. We have a large customer that had their selection items for disposition, and the top one was like internet lead. Well, they changed them. They alphabetized them. So the first one was accounting. The very next day, the majority of their customer calls were suddenly for the accounting department. True story. So if you think about that, like, okay, so we don't need that anymore because AI tells you exactly what happened on every call. It tells you whether it was a lead. It tells you whether it was a customer. It tells you whether that customer was unhappy and might be canceled. It can tell you when your leads aren't put in the CRM. And believe it or not, we're seeing 30 to 40% of leads that call in are not getting entered into the CRM by the admin employees that take the calls for various reasons, right? So AI can tell you like the calls that you never would have known you missed. It can tell you the customer's unhappy. So why do you need tracking numbers? I'm just saying AI is going to change a lot of things. And then if you go into like how many companies pay to send surveys out to find out how the call was, or they do all that goes away because our AI tells you everything you need to know about every call, and it's there and it's documented. You can export, you can report. It's going to be
so
a big change is coming. Yeah.
So when you look to pull data, right? You want common words. You want to create a database, right? The phone conversations aren't a database. How do you just pull keywords? How do I know, that maybe there's an opportunity to upsell this customer on, if they have general pest onto termite or termite onto lawn or something like that? Is that where you're going? Because I see the training. The training is unbelievable. I'll tell you in a few minutes what I experienced with that.
That's the magic of AI. It actually, if I could show you, it's just amazing what it can do. It takes that transcription and it knows the words and it actually deciphers the conversation and it knows when somebody's buying something, when somebody's unhappy about something, when somebody wants this, and it's very specific. So you talk about like a database. It is actually a database, and you have every word of every call. You have the summary, all the AI data you can pull out. I mean, we can tell you exactly how many customers called in and canceled every day, percent. Like you can just go in every day and look at the dashboard and go, oh, yesterday 4% of my customers canceled. 2% of my customers. Yesterday I got 142 leads, not tracking calls. I got 142 leads, and my employees converted or sold 40% of them. And you know that like real time. And that when I used to do
that's incredible
at McCall, right? That's what everybody wants. The Grail, the Holy Grail is I want to know when I'm spending all this money on marketing and I'm getting 150 phone calls a day. How many sales am I getting out of that? And what sales am I getting? And what revenue am I getting? That's where it's all going, right? And we can push all of that into the CRM. Some of it we could push now, But the goal, and I think Donnie, you mentioned earlier, the goal is, well, this is where it's going to go, is to get everything into the CRM. We're getting integrated into the Pest communication center you mentioned earlier, right? There's going to be one or two others. So again, the goal is to get everybody kind of more in one place, but all of this data that so many companies have been chasing and spending money for, and all, that's all going to kind of, I think it's going to not go away, but it's not going to be the same, because you don't really need, if I can tell you exactly what happened on every call, tracking numbers really don't add much value to that.
Well,
at the end of the day,
surveys don't either, right? But
surveys don't either. Absolutely.
Yeah. So Dan, getting back to your question, remember when we did the podcast and I talked about large language models and how they work? That's the database. It's not necessarily a database. It's the pattern of words, and words, you, over those patterns, and that's how you determine, is that a sale, is that a call, is that a complaint, those types of things.
I think at a lower level, so somebody who's not familiar with all of this stuff, what I saw at U Group was we don't like to use the word chemicals. We like to use the word materials. So I could look at every single call that came in that mentioned chemicals and then see which company representative said chemicals all day, so you could train around that. I just thought that was brilliant.
You can. It really is. I keep using the word amazing. When I type the word amazing now, I put AMAIZING just because it is amazing. But you can do that with so many different unique pieces. Like AI even has what's called a audio quality, which is not the sound of the call. It's how easy it is for AI to transcribe. So if you have an employee that talks low, or maybe they have an accent, or maybe it's really noisy, you can actually filter that out and say, oh, I've got 3 employees whose audio quality score is below 80%, right? And then you can tie that into, other things like, are they, how are their customers happy with their calls? Because you can then see, like, every customer, you can sort it out. And these are all the unhappy customers that called yesterday, because it's based on the caller sentiment. Now, you think about all the things that are out there to try to determine caller sentiment, right? Well, now you know what it is because AI is telling you what it is. And it's accurate because you look at it and it says, oh, they're disagreeable. And then you read the summary and it says customer called in, they were unhappy. That's amazing. You see one that says something like they had a wasp nest and the guy was supposed to come out and he didn't come out. And now the guy's daughter can't get in the house, right? And not only is that there, we can alert you. You'll get an email. You can have an email to a supervisor within 5 minutes after that call ends, and they know that happened, right? So if you think about it now, somebody calls in and they're unhappy, that CSR has to take it. They have to do something, put in an email, call a supervisor. They might be busy. All that has to happen. With AI, within a few minutes after the call, boom, you're getting an email alert that says this person just called in, tells you what the problem was, and you can respond to it. You can get a report every day, 3 times a day. These are all the customers that called in and were unhappy, right? These are all the leads that called in that didn't close. These are all the leads that called in that you talked to, but you need to follow up in a week. So we're going to tell you a week from now, hey, these are the ones you should have followed up on. And guess what? They didn't. So you as a manager and owner, you can see all that from a high level, right? So those are the kind of things, Dan, to your point, that you're going to be able to manage aspects of the business you can never manage before because you just didn't have the data to do it. And that's really what AI is going to fundamentally change the way pest control and lawn care companies operate for the better, because there's just so much more data available. And it's the people that see that and understand it and realize, like, this is the value of it, because AI is not free and you got to pay for it. But like I tell people, how many canceled customers that AI helps, that X-Ray, our AI helps you save before it pays for itself? How many leads that were never put in the CRM before it pays for itself? There's so many different value points there.
So let's transition to training. I know Dan's just bursting to talk about it. And so let's just give him a little bit of mic time here, because I know he wants to talk. Okay. So why don't you explain what you saw, Dan, and then let's just start.
Yeah. So it's pretty neat stuff. So basically, we wanted to see the word chemical. So we looked at the transcript of every single call that came in that day, and we were able to see how many calls used the word chemical, and we were able to see how the word chemical was used, and we were able to see who used the word chemical, whether it was the customer or the CSR. And if it was the CSR, we were able to say, okay, that CSR took 3 calls today and used the word chemical. And so we can say, if we don't want to use the word chemical, we want to replace it with material, that's an easy training. That's an easy fix. Hey, don't use the word chemical, use the word material. And, the fact of the matter is you'd have to be sitting behind every CSR, listening to every word to catch that. But this just accumulates, it puts it in a basket and wraps it up. And there's no, there's no debate whether you used it or not, because we got your recording.
It's right there. Yeah. Yes. Safe is another word, right? You don't want to say safe. We use safe products, right? But no, it's pretty, you're spot on. The level of detail and what you can do. And we have a call scoring module coming out in the near future for our AI can already tell you all your inside sales data you want to know on outbound calls, on inbound, how many calls they made, their closing percentage, all of it. Right? So that's already there. But the next step, which is coming soon, is a call scoring type, so you can basically manage your staff, and you can set it up and say, to your point, never say chemical, or they should always say, is there anything I can help with you at the end of every call? And and we can score that and all that. So that's all coming out to where you'll be able to actually see the performance of your employees, and then also they can see it. So it's going to kind of tie in, and that's really the focus, is eventually to make X-Ray, our AI dashboard, really the central nervous system of our customers, right? Have everything kind of tie through with AI, and more and more things that are getting done manually and by sticking little pieces and parts together are just going to either go away or transition greatly, because AI can just do it all already. So it's pretty amazing, yeah. But there's a lot of training opportunities.
I was going to say, so if you're listening to this and you're not implementing some of these strategies, some things to think about. Number one, I always say it's weak leadership when something goes wrong, and the very first thing they want to do is they want to point a finger at a manager, right? They want to point a finger at the technician or the person in the office or whatever. And oftentimes when there's some sort of failure, you start digging into it. Oftentimes what you'll find is that it's a system failure, not a people failure. Most people want to do a good job. Now I know that there's exceptions to the rules, and I'm not being idealistic here, but I'm bringing all that back to make a point. The beauty of AI, in my mind, is think about it as a call center manager, right? You've got scripts, you've got, you're managing, okay, what's it look like as far as amount of people on hold, we're looking at call volume, we're looking at all these different things, and they have a set of tools to do their job. It is physically impossible to review and call coach every single call. With AI, every single call is monitored, every single call is scored, in a case if you have a scoring system, or at least, you could put out some parameters. But it's a tool for your call center manager that it is just an amazing tool, because it allows them to really see what's going on, not these little random samples. I mean, look, at the end of the day, you can look at someone's numbers and know that, like I say, I think of this with a technician, right? You could look at a technician's numbers and know that they're getting ready to leave. Like, legitimately, you can. You can look at what's happening with their cancel rate, what's happening with their callbacks, what's happening with their production. I can tell you usually beforehand what's going to, just based on their numbers. And I think a call center manager can as well. But ultimately, what you're trying to do is you're trying to give them a tool that allows them to be more effective. And with AI, it never sleeps, right? It listens to every single call. So there's I shouldn't say there's no chance, but a very rare chance something's going to slip by and take that as long as to find. But
yeah, I mean, AI has a thing that it hallucinates. So every once in a while, and I've only seen one in thousands of calls, it goes crazy and it just makes stuff up. It's weird, but it's pretty reliable. But you can also do the same thing with the service side, and that's another big difference with AI. You're absolutely right. From a call center manager perspective, there's no way. The challenge you run into is most companies don't have somebody whose job is dedicated to just managing their call center, right? Most of our customers, the big ones do, but most of them, it's an office manager, and they're also doing this, but they're also, doing the payables, and they're also, over here making the sandwiches for the company lunch. They're doing a lot of stuff, right? So they don't very often get a chance to really sit there and monitor calls and listen to calls. So that's one of those things that a lot of companies talk about, but rarely does it happen. And when it does happen, how long is somebody going to sit there and listen to calls? After a little while, I got to take a break. So you're right. Everything gets done, and it gets done well, and it's across the board. For all the different whatever part of your business you want to manage, AI can help you do it. And there's other AI besides our phone system AI, of course. course,
Right.
you know, that can impact other things. But what we're seeing is, you know, since really the vitality of our business is our customers, right? You know, that's without the customers, you don't have a business. So, and still, even today, 82% of contacts in pest and lawn customers and companies happens over the phone. So phone calls are still where everything's happening in your company, really,
Right.
you know, for the most part.
Right. Well, we're running up on about 5 minutes left, and I want to talk.
Okay.
I want to. I mean, I know we've been having a big love fest here. I want to talk about on AI. Let's talk about some challenges with AI. Let's talk about some things that that you feel like here's some things that you need to be aware of if you're going to go down this road. Here's some things you need to look out for. Just, I mean, in general, you know, I mean, listen, like even the hallucination thing that you talked about, I've seen that before, and it's hilarious when it happens. As long as it not like. As long as I recognize it. It's not funny if I don't recognize it. But, you know, I mean, I guess my point is like, what are some challenges that people need to think about? What are some things that they need to make sure that they understand before they kind of jump into this world?
Yeah, that's a good question. Does he usually have a good question today? Because that was a really good question. But no, that's pretty good.
Oh, Dan's muted.
You're muted.
Probably for a good reason.
No, I was muted because I have a dog in the background who was barking. No, Donnie usually doesn't come up with good questions. But when he throws enough stuff at the wall, that's something sticks. So I'm just kidding. I'm just kidding.
That one stuck, baby. But no, there's actually a few things really, and it does require some behavior changes from the phone side, because essentially one of the things that makes us unique and allows us to be a better provider, I think overall, is our integrations, because we can take call notes and things and push them into almost all the CRMs out there in this industry, right? So that's a really cool thing. But what happens is we can't do that if we don't know the account, right? We can match it when a call comes in. We can automatically match it, but if that number is not in their database, we don't know. So some of the things is you might want to get your employees used to repeating the account number, right? Mm-hmm. Because if you say the account number, then AI will grab it, and then we can do everything else with it, right? So and so there's certain things like that, and then there's you want to learn to say the account number. It's not necessarily a pitfall, but it's something that would help AI. So I guess there's going to be things you'll have to do differently to help the AI be as good as it can, but it's not much. But what I have seen is also in our situation, a lot of customers, old school phone systems, you didn't put people on hold, you didn't transfer to voicemail. Somebody would call and I want to speak to Donnie. Okay, hold on, park him on line one. Hey, Donnie, Dan's on line one, right? Old school. Well, a lot of companies, when they come to new, internet phone systems, they just kind of keep everything old school. Well, call parking will blow up your notes and everything else, because when you put somebody, when you call park them, you're putting them on hold. And so that part of the call, they're just in a box and there's nothing going on. And then if somebody else picks it up. So long story, try not to use line parking if you're going to use AI with your phone system, because you're not going to get as good results. Just transfer calls to voicemail. And if they're there, they'll answer. And if they won't, they won't. And don't page people, stuff like that. But really, I haven't seen much as far as, watch out, other than to your original point. Don't automatically assume everything you see is always, you have to dig to make sure that you're not pointing the finger at somebody, right? Because to your point, you don't want to point the finger at somebody. It's pretty darn accurate, but you still want to make sure you're looking at everything and just not reading a summary note and flying off. There might be more to it. But I don't know. That's the best answer to that great question.
So the takeaway there is you got to speak AIEs. So
you got to speak it. Yeah, you got to learn that language, and you just have to. You're going to have to change the way you think about things, because the way you think we've always thought about things, it's going to be different now. It's like those of us old enough before the internet and after. It's a big difference, right?
No, I mean,
to me, difference. Yeah.
I think it's pretty. I think it's pretty reasonable. I mean, when you think about when Google first came out, right? We all had to learn how to search, right? I mean, think about it. Remember? I mean, I remember like my mom trying to search, and I'm like, Mom, because she's trying to talk to it like you would talk to AI now. She would write these big long sentences, and I'm like, Mom, no, you can't do that. It's like, so I mean, I think it's just going to be that, just us ramping up and learning how to.
Yeah, that's what it's going to be. Yeah. And I don't know where it's going to end. I don't think anybody knows where it's going to end. It's going to end somewhere.
No, we're at the beginning.
Yeah. Raymond, this has been fantastic. Thank you for coming on the podcast. I've learned a lot, and I've got some questions because I'm after the not for you, but for our team afterwards, especially about this SIM card and getting everything running into one account. So that's my big takeaway from that. Dan, any parting thoughts before we finish out here?
No. I think this has been outstanding, and it's really eye opening. And just Raymond, you plug Voice for Pest plugs into which CRM so people know?
Okay, first to check my memory. Pest Pack, Real Green, in no particular order. They're not cats, no particular order. Pest Pack, Real Green. Field Routes, Field Work, Spire. I know I'm missing some. Help me out, Krista. You're muted. Field Worker, Spire. I can't believe it.
Brio Stack.
Brio Stack. Thank you, Brio Stack.
Field Stir.
Field Stir. I mean, just about everyone that people use, really, of volume, we integrate to. There's a couple that won't integrate to us that we would love to, but they just won't do it. So we try. But yeah, almost all of them. And our deepest integration is PestPack, only because it's the longest. And PestPack wrote the integration to their software many, many years ago. Mm-hmm. So we can do a lot more right now with PestPack than we can with some of the other ones. But we're always willing to do whatever we can.
Okay.
Fantastic. Well, just a reminder for our audience. We will put a link up to Voice for Pest website, and Raymond, if you've got some articles, whatever you want to share, and you can just go over to pmpindustryinsider.com. Take a look under show notes for this episode. We'll post all his contact information there and any other information he wants to share. Raymond, it's been fantastic. As always, we appreciate any and all positive reviews and all complaints we want you to push to Dan. And with that, we'll see you all next time. Take care now.
Take care.
Our AI will wipe out those complaints anyway. So we're good. Bye, guys.
Take care.
All right, see you guys.
Bye.